thinking of buying a home in Frisco, Texas, or thinking of selling your current home in Frisco, Texas, well, stay tuned because we're going to give you the most recent, up-to-date local market information. And as you may know, Dallas is a huge area, and what's going on in Dallas, Texas may not be what's going on in the suburbs. So we've gotten super hyper local concerning Frisco, and we're happy to bring the information to you. So we've collected all the data. We're going to tell you what's currently going on, what's causing it, and what to expect in the upcoming months. So take the time to sit back and relax. We've done all the legwork for you, and we're going to share exactly what's going on currently in the Frisco, Texas market. So what's going on now in the Frisco, Texas market? Well, we're seeing the median sales prices up, guys. So it's up 19.3%. So what does that mean? If you're thinking of selling, now's a great time, right? The prices are high, so you can get the most out of the market. If you wait, the prices may not stay the same because we're seeing a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines, waiting for prices to go down, or they're sitting on the sidelines because the interest rates have gone up and they can no longer afford the same amount of house because they're paying more in interest and they can get less house. So if you're thinking of selling, now may be a good time. The median sales price for Frisco, Texas is actually up, looking at the year-over-year numbers. Number of homes sold has gone down slightly, which is to be expected, 197. And then median days on the market is up slightly, 22 year-over-year, which is to be expected with the changes that we're seeing in the economy. So Frisco is still a pretty hot market. Take a look at the sales price to list price percentage. So if you're thinking of selling, you can expect to get around 98% of what your home is listed for. Now, this is all relative, so make sure you connect yourself with someone who knows how to price, because you don't want to overprice it and that number be less. We've been in the business since 1998 and would love to help you. So if you have questions and want to know what that would look like for you, feel free to reach out to us. Homes sold above list price. So there are still people paying over list price to get a home in Frisco, 22.3%. It is down what it was year over year by almost 40%, but there are still people paying over. And then homes with price drops, so that has increased 34% year over year, so almost 54% when it comes to that. So one thing to think about, guys, that I want to discuss when you're looking at numbers and you're considering, is now a good time for me to purchase something in Frisco, Texas? If you compare, if you were to have bought a home, let's say 6 months ago in Frisco, even if it was a new construction home, builders had waiting lists, right? When you came up on their waiting list, guess what? You're gonna pay market value. So if they could put that house on the market, whatever they could get, even if it was a lower price when you got on their waiting list, they're gonna get market value. They're not gonna lose money, right? They're sellers. Keep that in mind. Also, what happened is builders started releasing their homes to their whole waiting list and selling to the highest bidder, which is similar to what's going on in the resale market. So if you bought a home about 6 months ago, you were gonna pay significantly over list price. And the house may not appraise for that amount, so you are gonna have to bring a significant amount of your cash, your hard-earned money to the table, because the bank's gonna only loan you a percentage of what the house appraises for. So when you're considering, is now a better time than it was 6 months ago when the interest rates are lower? you have to consider the fact that you were going to pay more for a house, significantly more, just to have an opportunity to get that home 6 months ago. Although your interest rate would have been lower, you still would have paid more for the house. So if you factor in approximately how much your payment would have been on a house, let's say you were looking at a house and the average sales price that Frisco is right now, $650,000, right? You are gonna pay $100,000 to $150,000 on average more than the $650,000 to get that house 6 months ago. Although your interest rate would have been lower, let's say your payment 6 months ago would have been around, with principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, let's say your payment was going to be around $5,400 a month. That's with the rates being what they were 6 to 8 months ago on a $650,000 house that you would have had to pay more for, right? Currently, with the rates being higher, you're gonna get that house probably at market value or lower, just depending on the specific home, right? In the specific area and what the demand is like. And we can walk you through that. So you're not gonna pay over $100,000 to $150,000. Although your interest is gonna be higher, you're gonna end up around the same amount payment-wise than you would have 6 months or so ago. The other thing is you're gonna get concessions now. Those were not offered 6 to 8 months to a year ago, right? There were no seller concessions. You were bringing over market to make up the difference. You were also paying all the closing costs, and in some instances you were paying the seller's closing costs as well. Currently, you're gonna get the house for market value or maybe a little bit less, and you are going to get concessions. We have a list. If you're interested in getting a list of all the concessions that are being offered in the Frisco area, feel free to reach out to us. So what's causing all of this chaos in the real estate market? What is causing this volatility in the real estate market? So I want you to think of rising economic prosperity and the really, really low interest rates. Those are two main factors. So just think about our hot labor market, right? Think about the really low unemployment rates that we're seeing. And then also think about somebody being in a home that they own for a year and having a significant amount of equity. Typically, in a typical market, it takes at least 5 years for you to start paying towards your principal. But we saw something completely different, right? We saw a rising economic prosperity when it came to home ownership, right? We saw people living in their home for a year and being able to turn around and sell it and have a significant amount of equity to pull out. And then they were able to turn around and buy for little or nothing, right? Because it was almost free to borrow money, right? So it didn't make sense to use your own cash. You use the bank's money because it was so cheap to borrow. So these are things that have a huge impact on the real estate market. So if you're thinking about buying a home in Frisco, Texas, or you're thinking about selling your existing Frisco, Texas home, what can you expect in the upcoming months? Well, one thing to think about is we're still way above the Fed's comfort level when it comes to inflation, right? We're way above that. So we're most likely going to see an increase in those interest rates because the Fed is trying to slow things down, right? And to slow down this rising economic prosperity that has come through real estate. With Frisco, Texas, we're seeing a 98% sales price to list price percentage. So the values aren't really going to change much, in my opinion. We're probably going to see this leveled out because there's still high demand. There's still people paying over market value to get a home in Frisco. So if you're thinking of buying and selling, while the rates are lower than they're gonna be, now would be the time. If you're new to this channel and you want to stay up to date with what's going on in the Frisco, Texas market, Tap the bell and hit the subscribe button below so you can be one of the first to know what's going on with Frisco, Texas real estate. I enjoyed this time with you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.